Today, as we start the show, this one mic. We hail. There is a pause throughout the stadium as this man sounds like he just coughs up a lung. Just looking around, the Jumbotron shows and pans the cheerleaders, and as it goes down each cheerleader's face, each one breaks up into laughter, which at this stadium, the other half is still trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Does this guy need CPR or something? And then at that particular time, I lost it. Devon's brother. Yes. Today,
Blog Talk Radio.
Start the show, this one mic.
Phoenix is another place. They got a great training staff. They were able to breathe life back into Shaq. And if you can do that, people talk a lot about their training staff.
Blog.
Yes, today, as we start the show, this one mic.
All right, welcome to another edition of One Mic. I feel good here on this Sunday afternoon as we're taking in everything. I'm looking forward to having a great show tonight. We're gonna get into. There's a lot of stuff going on in the preseason, and we're gonna get into a little bit of preseason for you to kind of go on. There's a lot of storylines, and so we're gonna make sure that we have an opportunity to talk to you a little bit about our perspective on what we see with the preseason, as well as other areas in sports as well. Know that you can find us on social media in a number of different areas at Real Sports Guys on all those platforms. We welcome you coming on. Check us out. Leave your comments. Couple of y'all have tried to be a little crazy. I had to come at a couple of folks, but that's all right. That's how we get down. So make sure you come and check us out on all the social media platforms, and you can do that in many different ways. But you can always reach us, here at realsportsguys.com if you want to check us out and tap into wherever we're at. So we're having fun. We're enjoying this. But before I get into this, I'd like to, I gotta bring in my guys, because they make all this happen, and so I gotta bring them in. I see my guys over here hanging out here a little bit. Got to bring them to the airways as well. Bring them in. I see my guys over here hanging out here a little bit. Got to bring them to the airways as well. Let me start with my man, the youngin. How you doing, man? Darnell, talk to me. Oh, we can't hear you.
You're off mute, bro. You're off mute, bro.
Off
I
mute.
said, God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good. You seen what happened yesterday? Dennis Ugas, he beat Manny Pacquiao. Devon, he predicted it, but I'm still waiting to see if he put his money where his mouth is. Did you make any money off of that?
I made a few dollars off of that. I went in there. I told you on the Boxing Moment, y'all can check it out on the platform. I said I felt like there was something about this fight, and in respect to everything you said in terms of who he was, but just something about Ugas and his approach, that I felt like on this short turnaround would give Manny problems. So I did do a little something, not enough to do anything, but it'll pay for a cup of coffee. That's about it. So I'll let that go. I got my man Hammer. What's up, man?
Man, I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm all right. How's it going on down there in Shy Village?
Man, like you said, it's in the village of Frankfurt in the suburbs. So it's quiet. Ain't the city, man. Ain't the hood, but it's nice and peaceful, and yeah, work's going well. The German state, and yeah, great to be back home. And yeah, it's a different thing. It's the name Madison, but it's nice to be back home, man.
Well, we we're going to, as I work through all these technical things that I'm learning a little bit here to get us going. We're going to, talk a little bit about the world of NFL. But we're gonna start here in the open mic. Talk a little bit about what kind of stories y'all been following here in the in the world of sports. I'll start with you, Darnell. What have you been following?
Well, first of all, we kind of touched on it already, but we had a fight card yesterday. Errol Spence, he had to pull out because the detached retina. But we had a fill-in. His name was Yordenis Ugas. And he ended up winning the fight. I didn't think he could do it. I thought Manny Pacquiao was going to have a gear that he couldn't get to. But at the end of the day, Manny Pacquiao, he looked old. He looked rusty. But no excuses. But, Manny Pacquiao, he always got some excuses. If he loses, there's always going to be at least one. He was talking about the fight was over. Now he's talking about he had leg cramps, like his legs was cramping up and he couldn't move. I'm like, man, every single time Pacquiao loses, there's always an excuse. When he lost to Floyd, he was talking about his shoulder. He said he tore a rotator cuff or something like that. He said he couldn't, but then at the end of the fight, he lifted both his arms up, straight up. And so if you know a thing about the shoulder, that would be extremely painful, and you wouldn't be doing that. And he was throwing the right hook all day, talking about his shoulder. But the Jeff Horn fight, Manny Pacquiao was saying he said, I do not want to make excuse, but when I come off plane, I catch cold. I catch cold. So he always have an excuse every time he lose. But hey man. I gotta tip my hat off to Ugas. He came in, he did the job. He was preparing for you brought up Pacquiao was going to struggle from having a short notice fight, but I thought Ugas, because Ugas was he was preparing for a much lesser fighter. He was preparing for like Marcos Maidana's little brother, Fabian Maidana. So he was preparing for a much lesser fighter. So I thought the change would hinder him more, because if you look at the styles, Ugas and Errol Spence fight, and they both fight in a very like upright style. I know Ugas is orthodox and Errol Spence is southpaw, and Errol Spence puts on more pressure than Ugas does. But Errol Spence, I think, would just be like a better version of what Ugas gives you. So I thought that the change wouldn't hurt Manny Pacquiao as much, but I don't think the change is what did it. I think I'll give my credit to Ugas. I think Ugas. I took my hat off to Ugas because he came in and he got the job done.
Yeah, he got the job done, man. It was crazy how the announcers were like, I'm watching the fight. I'm like, he in this fight, and they just were like not giving him any love. They didn't know that. Other than Sean Porter. Sean Porter was trying to support all the way through. I'm like, I'm watching this fight, and he had this great kind of right hand, like a hook. He would get around Manny's punch. He had a couple of signature punches that kind of kept Manny in place, and Manny wasn't moving at all. And Manny could talk about, but I think Ugas was, doing some harm there. And then I thought the referee was just looking. I thought the out was going to be taking a point away from him. I felt like, man, we in Vegas. They're going to try to find a way to take a point from this man and ease it out because, there's a lot of money on the table. But, yeah, man, it's one of those things we just have a feeling, and it happened. And so, but that's a deep division, man. I hope that all of them start fighting each other more and more, keep fighting, because some of these other divisions, they're not fighting at all. But I love to see these folks do the round robin and make it happen. Hamber, what you been watching? I know you weren't watching that Bears game. We'll get to that.
Yeah, I was, but no, I would say even though we're not supposed to get to the NFL, I mean, it's dominating. It's Matt Nagy versus the world. Forget about Chicago. So literally everybody's after him about not starting Justin Fields, about bringing in Jason Peters. Really just, it just looks like he's adrift as far as running the ball club. And a lot of the mess with Tevin Jenkins, clear lies about his stats throughout the summer. He just lost total credibility to the point where you see headlines where, Brian Daboll tore us up yesterday people calling for him to take over the Bears right now. So it's just it's crazy what's happening right now, especially with Trubisky balling out yesterday. So really, Matt Nagy's on the hot on the Fields. I mean, obviously wasn't as good as the first game, but still looked very poised even after a big hit. And the team, the Bear team, just looks raggedy, especially the offensive line. And so the fans are after him, and I think he's in serious trouble, man.
Well, I think you're right on it. You know, it's funny how folks get out here and set themselves up. They draw a line in the sand so early, and he had no reason to draw a line in the sand the way he did. You know, even if he's trying to, play a supportive role for the vet, there's no need for him to draw a line in the sand, and it just all it's done was cause him more heartache and headache. So I think you're right. You're right on it all the way. So hey, we're gonna keep watching it. We're gonna talk a little bit more about it as we get into the cipher, and just everybody's wondering whether or not Manny was gonna look old. Tom Brady is like messed up everybody. So Floyd kind of messed up everybody, but everybody thinks that everybody's gonna age the same way. And Manny looked quick and looked like he was ready before he got in that ring. His legs just slowed down on him, and that was something that I just want to pay attention to. Although, even though that happened, if I'm Manny, I'm not. He's not close to retirement. He looked good. He wasn't as sharp as he could be, but it wasn't like a fight I looked at and said, "Okay, he need to hang it up." I think people just found out how good Ugas is. But Manny, if they fought again, I wouldn't be surprised if Manny beat him. I think Manny is still competitive in that space. Spence would be an interesting thing, but I don't know how Spence is going to come back with that retina. I just think sometimes you just get beat down and time away, and people continue to get better. And so, but it was the landscape of boxing has evolved, and so I'm a big boxing fan, so I was paying attention to that. And then I was just thinking about just getting ready for college football is coming up, and man, we're going to get a show just talking about that, but it's kind of been a thing in the background. But just really interested in seeing what's happening, especially with all the stuff that's happening with image and likeness, and you got just how some of these young folks perform now that they're getting a little bit of paper in their pocket. Just the whole college football scene and seeing how that thing's going to evolve is something that I'm kind of coming on board. All right. So I want to get into the meat of this conversation, into our cipher a little bit, where we can talk a little bit about, what's happening with this NFL preseason. I want to start out with, there's been a lot of conversation about, the rookie quarterbacks. Let me start with you, Hammer. Who's impressed you? I'll take your hometown guy out because we just talked about him. We'll come back to him because I know he's obviously pressed.
Obviously, I'm gonna say Zach Wilson. Say Zach Wilson. Of course, Wils impressed me, but Zach Wilson really. I had skepticism about Zach Wilson. Just he's a system quarterback, even though the tape looked good. Darnell can talk about the tape more than I can. But the bottom line is that I just am just stunned how against preseason, but how quickly he's acclimated to being the man, and he was designated to be the person. So the backup is guy who Mike White, who I've never even heard of until I did some research this morning. So bottom line is that Zach Wilson really has impressed me as far as his poise, precision. Obviously Justin Fields has really it looks like again he's very confident. Just show that even after the big hit he took yesterday, he was resilient and came back and played well. And so wasn't shaken. Also just hasn't been shaken by the drama around him. The fact that he knows people want him to start. He's supporting his teammate Andy Dalton. He's playing the right role, and I think eventually, my prediction is that he'll be under center game 5 against the Raiders because it's a perfect opportunity because that's going to basically be a neutral site game. So Wilson, Matt Jones has looked really fluid. I think he's hadn't shown explosiveness in this game, but he's able to run the offense and being steady. I think Cam brings more explosiveness to the table, and he looked great. They crushed, Philly. So I think those are sort of 3 people I would look at as kind of people who I think I've been very impressed with.
Darnell, I know you've been watching, and in between all the 2-a-day practices you've been doing, which of the quarterbacks have impressed you and standing out from the crowd? I mean, they all played well and have spurts. Who do you like?
Well, to be honest with you, with the 2-a-day practices, it kind of makes it a little hard to watch every game. You know what I'm saying? But Zach Wilson, I didn't watch this game from this week yet, but I saw his game, his first game from last week, and Zach Wilson is looking amazing to me. I think he has the livest arm in this draft. I watched his snaps and Trevor Lawrence's snaps back to back, and I think Zach Wilson is his arm. You can see the difference in the way the ball jumps out of his hand versus Trevor Lawrence. And I was like, man, I think the Jets got something with Zach Wilson, and that's my guy.
Yeah, I mean, I was a Zach Wilson fan from early on last year, watching him, and just there's something about him that you can get excited about, and I felt like he could handle that New York media life, and I thought he just is looking good. And I also think that much like I think what Fields is getting is, I think he's getting a good look in practice against a good defense. I think one of the things that Salas has brought to the table over there, and I think he's probably getting good reps, in practice. That's continued to refine him and get after that. And I think that's been very helpful. They're not putting the kid gloves on him. They're going right at him in practice. I think then translating to the game a little bit. I think the same way Fields is getting that good look with the Bears defense, and there's a value added to that. I didn't put this on here, but y'all probably could talk about who's worrying you out of these rookie quarterbacks. May I start with you, Darnell? Is there anybody? Or I
mean, I wouldn't say worried. It's a bad narrative. It's Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if you can't be out Gardner Minshew, something's wrong. Now I don't know if Urban Meyer's playing games.
I don't believe that.
That's what I'm saying. I put a caveat on it, Darnell. I think it's a lot of game playing, but the narrative is not good, though. Can you agree with that?
Let me go and talk about this. This is Urban Meyer doing his old college football, the old ball coach kind of tactics. It's not that Trevor Lawrence is not the quarterback one. It's just that he wants to establish the same culture in the locker room the way that Pete Carroll did when he first got to Seattle. He wants it to be that every job is up for grabs. You know what I'm saying? It's an open competition for everything. And that's pretty much what he's saying. But on week one, Trevor Lawrence will be the starting quarterback. Trevor Lawrence is going to be the start. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But I think him saying he's not necessarily eclipsed Gardner Minshew. That's just for the locker room. That's just for him saying, we all got to compete for a job in already. That's what he's saying.
I mean, is he trying to pump up Gardner Minshew's value? Because, perfect example, like A.J. McCarron's injury last night. I mean, depth injuries down the stretch, Gardner Minshew's the type of guy that, you can plug and play. He's shown that. Even though he's not a dynamic guy, he's a serviceable quarterback. And so he's trying to pump up his value. So if there's a major injury at the end of the preseason or so, especially 17 games, will somebody overpay for Gardner Minshew? Maybe a fourth or fifth round pick where they would get a sixth or seventh round pick probably without. So I don't know. Like I said before, I agree with you. Trevor Lawrence is going to be understanding unless he's injured. But again, I just don't understand. It's kind of like Meyer's whole tenure.
Urban Meyer does a lot of the gimmick stuff. That's just the old coach speak. Just like him bringing in Tim Tebow. All that is, I want you to see the way he works. I want you to see how he works in the weight room and how he runs his sprints and stuff, and the way he never gives up. And then when the actual games come around, we're gonna cut him because he's really not good enough. But we just want you to see it. That's the type of gimmicks and trying to things that as a coach, you do these kind of things with your team just to see if I can get the extra, that little extra out of your team.
Yeah, but you get extra out of the team, but you're getting bad press. I mean, you got Tebow who couldn't even block. I mean, he basically cut himself. I mean, you saw that block, that trap, but that block was that type of block, but that I could have done that. You could have done that. And then you look at the fact that strength coach, he was fighting for the strength coach, pounding the table for the strength coach, and then how there's a battle, and you know, and you got people like who were drafted lower, like Trey Lance, getting good reviews, and Mac Jones, and you know, people like that. And so I just think it's a bad narrative by Urban for somebody who's, you know, very media savvy. And this guy, I mean, it was excellent in the media. I mean, you can talk about all other things about sort of his tenure at Ohio State as far as ethics or other the ethics go, but he was excellent media guy, excellent coach guy. It just makes me wonder sometimes if he's up for the job. You know, that's all. So.
Well, with Trevor Lawrence and with Justin Fields too, a lot of their struggles actually on the field is the offensive line. Like they're not giving them any time to throw the ball. I watched the first I didn't see this week, but last week's Trevor Lawrence game, he was getting pressure immediately. He had 1 second and then the ball has to be out. And that was the same type of thing for Justin Fields. Well, in the beginning, when the backups came in, he started doing a little better. But you start seeing it with this game, just the Bills. I mean, they couldn't really get the protection right. That's why they brought in Jason Peters.
Yep.
Well, I mean, if you think about, and I'll go to you, Darnell. You know, if you there's a lot of talk about you know, quarterbacks and rookies, but there's other rookies who are beginning to show that they are going to be impactful players. Who are some of those rookies you've noticed who have made an impact?
My guy from the from my Bible study, for the Bible study group, Jared Patterson, the running back for the Washington football team. Let me correct myself. Washington football team. He showed out like he was balling. I don't know what round he got drafted in. He might have been undrafted. I'm not even sure. But yeah, he came to play for his hometown team.
Now, Hammer, I'm gonna hit you.
I think Kylan
Go ahead.
Hill, if I pronounce his name, he's been a surprise to me. There's some connections there as far as he's from my late mother's hometown, Columbus, Mississippi. Give a shout out to Columbus, Mississippi, and he's played well. And so he's a 7th rounder. But you know, again, a lot of these backs you're not going to see because they're going to basically keep them fresh until the beginning of the season. But when you get to see some of these players like Kylan Hill or brother from the Bears, guy's name who got the yeah. So the bottom line is that Kylan Hill is the person I see as a good rookie. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is there's a lot of good interesting opportunities for some of these players. In recent years we've seen these defensive linemen come in and make an impact, especially the defensive end. Feels like that's a position that can translate from college to pros. Some of those guys can. You see Micah down there at Dallas doing his thing. Is Parsons, right? And as you
Michael Parsons, linebacker, yeah.
Michael Parsons, yeah.
But having to come off, there's times where he's a versatile type of player, right?
Yeah, but you saw Jonathan Cooper as well.
Yeah.
With the Broncos, he showed out. He had a nice little
to make that impact right off the bat. Some of these rookies who you can plug in and play, and Najee Harris with my Steelers, looking like he's getting those reps, and finally got trying to get a running back that can solidify. So some of these young guys are coming in, making moves and doing some interesting things, and wanting to getting a sense of who's going to be that unsigned hype person, that person that nobody we thought about that's going to make some noise. Is going to be interesting, part of that process as well. What other stories, as you start to look at preseason, that y'all paying attention to, and you feel like I'm really going to track this story?
Well, the story I'm really going to track is what's going on with Carl's team.
Yep. Like,
when are they going to come to their senses and put Justin Fields in the game? They're talking about they're going to wait till week 5. I mean, that don't make no sense to me. this Chicago Bears team is
You're not gonna start against the
able to-
Rams, man. You're gonna
They
start
should
against.
be able. They should be able to
You're gonna start
compete.
against with that offensive line. You're not gonna start.
So you're gonna punt. So you're gonna punt. So if
No, you're gonna solidify
what
the
happens, what
line.
happens if the Bears start off 1-4?
Oh, they're gonna start off probably 1-3, and then they're gonna go to Justin Fields in game 5. Yeah, they're gonna. I mean, I think they'll definitely lose the Rams, and they'll definitely lose to the Browns, and then you have I think
But
the
why
Titans.
not give yourself a chance against the Browns or against the Rams?
Well, I don't want to see Aaron Donald putting a premature end to Justin Fields' season week 1. So I really.
If I'm Justin, I don't want to get on the field for that game. I'm not trying to get on. Let the rifleman get in for this.
Yeah, well, again, we'll see. But I think the main thing they didn't give $10 million guaranteed to Andy Dalton to sit. They have the scenario they're going to play him 2, 3, 4 games, and then they're going to put in Justin Fields because, especially, I think the narrative is good. You talk about stories. You put in Justin Fields. Let's say he struggles. You got to come back with Andy Dalton or Nick Foles. That's a bad look. So you position the guy.
If he struggles, you stick with him. I mean, he gonna have to work it out.
Yeah, you stick with him, but this is Chicago, man. This is a sports town, man. We got the Bulls on the move. We got the Cubs down, but then the Sox up. We got the Blackhawks. I mean, we got everything with sports. These are fanatics.
Yeah, I think that,
man. So trust me, as soon as people, I went to the corner store with my Justin Fields jersey. I got one, and they're like, "Man, he played today." And I got cats in the hood tell me like, "Man, put that in safe deposit box, bro. You don't be wearing that in the street, bro. They might take it off you, bro." So no, real talk. This is the shine, man. I would keep it real.
You forgot.
You told me that. I was like, that's true. Because I got one of the originals. I got like one of the draft day ones. And he's like, it's probably marked. And so, yeah. So, main thing about it, that's a storyline, but I don't see as much storyline. I support the fact that you play Dalton for a couple games and then you bring in Fields, let him be the hero, but you don't have him where he comes in, he struggles, and then the fans will turn on him as quickly as – and look at Trubisky. I mean, fans turn on Trubisky on a dime. The fans will turn on Justin Fields on a dime. So you know that. So, I mean, set him up for success.
Wow. That's a story, and part of it is there's been a stubbornness with that. Sometimes you got to know just when to pivot, but sometimes football coaches will get in their head. I'm going to show you, rather than like just check the evidence. Now, I don't mind going with Andy Dalton for the first couple games, even if you win, because I think he's serviceable enough. It gets your defense going. It'll get them focusing on running because they need to run the football. Get that line going. I think that's something. I mean, what really threw some salt in the wound.
Trubisky was a talented guy. They didn't use him right. They tried to peg him again as typical Matt Nagy being stubborn. Yep. They had him in a traditional West Coast offense when they should have had an RPO or something that fit his skill set, and he would have been more successful. Now, he would have never going to live up to the second pick of the draft. Yep. Let's be real about it. And never live up to the fact that the Bears look stupid by trading up a spot and get up a 1-1 pick for a guy who would have had 3 anyway. But the main thing is that Mr. Trubisky, I mean, he's the number 1 backup maybe in football right now, as far as it goes, considering the fact that they got him to back up Josh Allen. So again, Trubisky clown yesterday was preseason, man.
Is what's happening over there in San Francisco again with Trey Lance and people, and I'm thinking, he did all right up front, but I'm not ready to, move him into the starting spot right now. And it's this idea of kind of like we're just going to jump folks in. Like, I don't agree with what's happening in Jacksonville. That's the storyline I'm gonna watch, because I think sometimes college coaches coming to the pros think they got to make a point. The only point they got to make is that I'm going to cut your mortgage off. Right? These are highly motivated people with mortgages and tuition bills, with their kids going to private school. Like, cats are coming to work with some things on their mind in ways that you don't have to do some of the things that sometimes these college coaches come in to do. And in some ways, you be with their mortgage,
Mhm.
especially see that the young guy can play and can help them look good. You messing with their mortgage, right? And so, but it's interesting when we
And
start
endorsements too, especially.
endorsement of the whole thing. And even as in San Francisco, I'm thinking, yeah, you got a quarterback that's had some injury problems, but he took you to a Super Bowl. Keep him healthy, but you got this young guy. Give him some time to get growing. It's like he give you one 80-yard throw, and now y'all think y'all gonna put him in the Hall of Fame. So there is that sense of it. But the thing about it in Chicago, you can look. It don't take much of the eye test. You can look and see, oh, this somebody's for real. Not only for real, he's doing exactly what he was doing in college. You saw all the snaps in college, and he's doing the same thing. He's looking as sharp at this level as he did in college with all those games you saw. So it's on one end, just watching how, whether or not these coaches and GMs play with scared money. Do they make the right decision because it's the right decision?
I mean,
What
what
people,
is the right decision though, D. Wells? Like I said, I told you the schedule. It's not very favorable for the Bears. I mean, the
yeah,
Justin Fields situation
but
reminds me.
I understand it. Like, I'm
This
not saying
Fields
start him
situation
first game.
reminds me of
You can make
the
the case
Chris
to
Bryant
start him.
situation. The
You
Chris
can make
Bryant
you
situation.
can make the case to start him because he gives you
Yeah, you
many
can make the
more.
case to start him. Again, I have no problem. If Matt Nagy doesn't win A and starts him, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I can see though the rationale as far as not starting, and also for
I'm not
example,
starting him in
I can
game
just
one.
not
I
starting him
get
game
that.
one. Yeah. But the
And that's
bottom
less
line
about
is
him. It's more about the offensive line.
this is a business decision though too. I
Yeah.
mean, this is about they gave the Bears a cheap franchise. Let's just be real about it. I mean, just call it like it is. The McCaskies are cheap. They're gonna sell the ball club soon too, because they know that the team is on its as a zenith right now because they're about to buy a stadium. So the bottom line is that they didn't pay Andy Dalton $10 million, man, sit on the bench and watch Justin Fields. So it's like the Chris Bryant situation in baseball. What they did basically to make him do another year, to serve another year in baseball. They're going to keep him on the bench, and then they're going to bring him in when it fits the narrative and it fits the financial situation. Yeah, and they got another guy, Big Foles. They got three, quarterbacks making big money. So yeah.